March 21st, 2021, Sunday evening. A plan brewing for the better part of that month had finally been realized when the funds to do so were collected in one place. Go onto AliExpress and seek out 2 items. The first being an inner pillow with dimensions 50 by 150 centimeters. The second being an outer case with the character Sayori from Dan Salvato's Doki Doki Literature Club printed on its exterior to give the illusion of being able to hug her by placing that skin on the pillow. Costing a total of $60, the artifact, when consolidated with its 2 halves, would come to be known as the Sayori body pillow. Sometime in May, the pieces were brought together for assembly, and on the 27th of that month an eponymously named YouTube review would appear on the channel formerly named Twisted Tempest. Since then, the course of the channel has changed dramatically, bringing with it a rebranding and a surge of new content. But ever since May 27th of over 2 years ago, the video has been ruminating in the deepest underbelly of my channel, creeping up in views and surpassing all others in that regard. But that's only if you don't include the outdated Kahoot tutorial I threw together in about 3 minutes, which I choose not to do. As for the artifact itself, it has seen many journeys, traveling across highways and byways by my design, but alas, it always returns to my bedside sooner than later. Even so, as time crept on without respect for the inanimate, it began to lose its charm. While I fancied myself growing older and observed it staying the same, the difference between our times became more apparent with each day. This is a metaphor, by the way. Sayori is canonically an adult, whatever, yada yada. Sooner or later, it was made clear to me that things staying the same as they were would be dull at best and catastrophic at worst. So, when looking back at the capstone of my YouTube career, as well as the catalyst that started a chain reaction of over $400 of Sayori merch being purchased, how do I change that in a meaningful way worthy of succeeding at? Well, to put simply, I would use as many of my resources as I could throw at the problem to bring forth something special and original, something which I could claim was truly mine. And the person that would fill that role lived below the heavens, but was known and honored far above the earth. Zinnia. Like I said, if all I was gonna do was replace one skin of a character with another skin of a different character, it needed to be different enough that it'd be worth the investment. Under these specific circumstances, there was a pretty big problem presented. Zinnia, as appealing a character as she is criminally underrated. Nearly every card was played out of her favor, keeping her away from the limelight long enough that people forgot about her, and the opportunity to merchandise her was considered non-lucrative and therefore scrapped. Keep in mind, neither her nor Sayori have any official body pillow designs, which makes a lot more sense for Zinnia considering she originates from Pokemon, but unlike Sayori, there are, or at least were, no third-party options for this very specific niche either. Now that I've said that, you might have noticed that this roadblock actually solves the overarching problem of originality, because if I'm successful in creating this, then it will make me the first and only human being on the planet to have a body pillow with Zinnia on it. By this point, I'm sure you think I'm an amazingly social and totally normal person, but don't you worry because this isn't even 10% of the brainpower this pet project demanded from me. After setting a goal, the obvious next step was to figure out how to get there. Luckily, I already had a head start since the inner pillow from the Sayori body pillow is transferable, so the only battle I was fighting was with the exterior. Here's the plan I came up with in chronological order. 1. Commission an artist on a platform like Fiverr or Etsy to custom draw Zinnia in a way that can be printed on a body pillow. 2. Go to AliExpress and order a custom body pillow case, sending them the result of step 1 to be printed on it. 3. Wait 4 to 8 weeks expected delivery, writing the script and making this video. 4. Receive the package, test, and confirm results. Just as a little aside, I hadn't mentioned it up to now, but I do actually use the body pillow every night. The cover itself isn't really what's important, but what is the high-level maneuver I developed to maximize my comfort using it. By wrapping it like a burrito in the softest blanket I own, its huggability and ergonomic performance see a dramatic increase. In all seriousness, this is probably terrible for my back, but hey, it feels comfortable now and that's what I care about. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that even though the plan I just described mostly relates to this video, I am actually going to use the body pillow in the end. So, how did my plan turn out? Step 1. The drawing. After some deliberation, I settled on Fiverr as I figured it would either be the cheapest or have the widest range of selection. Both turned out to be true and very important because what ended up being my cheapest option for a full color drawing on both sides was $60 before tip. Not to discredit the artist, who I've linked in the description, because his art was definitely worth it, but with the tip and the completely pointless service fee that Fiverr charges if you want to be a good person, the price suddenly jumped to $75. Also, my expected delivery time with 3 revisions worked out to 16 days when I placed the order. Pause. I'm fairly certain I misunderstood what the actual meaning of revisions was, because I just kind of assumed it meant going over it 3 times without any of my input, but I'm fairly certain in retrospect that it meant that's 3 times that I can ask for something to be changed or clarified, and I actually ended up spending more money than I needed to on a revision that I never used, so that's awesome. But due to technical issues on the artist side, it came closer to 3 weeks. Nonetheless, this was the result. Now, on the original date of my delivery, I was provided with sketches of both the front and back, wherein the eyes were layered over the top of the hair. Since this was a pretty standard artifact of rough drafts, I didn't really think about it and gave the artist the go-ahead to finish adding color and details. This quickly turned into a learning experience for me when, as you saw, the facial layering was entirely deliberate and persisted to the final result. Now, I could have easily requested that he make the changes I wanted because the commission included revisions, but instead I thanked him for his work and decided to add another step to the process: do it myself. Up to this point, I had been doing all of my photo editing on Pixlr X, a web-based streamlined photo editing software that fit all of my needs well enough that I invested in a year-long base subscription of $11. This project rendered that subscription completely moot, as Pixlr's suite of photo editors only supports files up to 4096 pixels wide or high. To accommodate for being printed on such a large surface, the drawings had a pixel density of 100 pixels per centimeter, resulting in the height being more than 3 times higher than Pixlr's limit at 15,000 pixels. At first, my solution was to sign up for a 7-day free trial of Photoshop, another plan that would backfire immediately when I realized that Photopea.com, a Photoshop clone with the benefits of Pixlr X, was the answer the whole time. Supporting the resolution I wanted and offering nearly the exact same tools as Photoshop for exactly $0, I used it to create these, and then I also gave her a fang, and a blush, and then all of these. Explaining the context behind this color change would take an entire video on its own, but the TLDR is that it goes with this guy, my OC. $75, an extra day of work on my end, and half a gigabyte of hard drive space later, step 1 was finally done. I assume the next part of this would be pretty easy, going something like this: make an order, get contacted, send a picture, wait for it to print, and then ship. While it would have been that simple had I just let it, I forgot to account for one critical detail: time zones. When I attempted to make my first order, it was about 5 or 6 a.m. in mainland China, where the case was presumably shipping from, and because of that, I wasn't contacted until after I chose to panic and cancel said order. Once I made my second order, things were a lot simpler. I had waited long enough by sheer luck that someone contacted me not long after, and before the end of the night, everything I needed to do was taken care of. But that's not even the end of the baloney from step 2. Since I was going for an all-around different experience, I decided to upgrade from the cheapest possible body pillow material, which was peach skin, to the most expensive, which is a 2-way tricot. On my original order, a custom-printed 2-way tricot case for a 50 by 150 centimeter pillow cost around $45 all in. The interesting thing about AliExpress is that despite what it tells you, canceling an order doesn't actually refund the transaction. What it instead does is create a hidden balance in your account that can only be accessed when you're about to purchase something else, which I'm glad I did, but here lies another issue. For my second order, the exact same material and measurements for a custom skin costs $10 more than my original at $55, a price that I was willing to pay if and only if my card was refunded. Instead, when I went to check out, the total came out to the previously mentioned $10 difference, which I somehow did not connect to my previous order, and I assumed I had just gotten really lucky. Later, I found out that I ended up paying the full $55 like I was expecting because of how stupid the refund system works, which somehow felt like a betrayal even though I knew that was exactly what I was paying for. Now, $130 down in the hole and with minor brain damage, I was halfway through my original list of steps. But of course, it couldn't end there. After accepting the drawings from the artist and submitting them to be printed, something interesting came to mind. Compared to the tried and tested Sayori body pillow, whose artwork is fairly edge-to-edge, the Zinnia drawings have quite a bit of unoccupied space on the top and bottom. I knew this was going to be an issue as I was already too tall for the Sayori design, but when I ran the numbers while writing this, I realized that at this density, the taller Zinnia of the two sides would be exactly 4 feet when printed. For context, I'm 5'6". Even if I wanted to upscale the actual pillow, and obviously also the case, to 6 feet tall, the design would still be less than 5 feet, and the cost of that would probably be an extra $100 on top of what I've already paid. Like I said, this doesn't matter ergonomically speaking, but that is definitely a lot shorter than I was expecting. Well, it's step 3 as I'm writing this, and there's nothing to be done for it now. And as for step 4, well... August 18th, 2023, and today is the day that not everything changes, but considerable amount, because it's here. This is the package that contains over 3 months of my diligent work. So, join me if you will, while I crack this thing open. Alright, thoughts about this. First of all, it's pretty stretchy. Like, it kind of drapes or droops compared to the peach skin, which was like unbelievably tight. But that does also mean this thing is a lot softer. $130 well spent. Okay, well, no, this looks unbelievably dumb with the camera reversed. But luckily the printing tolerances were low enough that my bad Photoshop got kind of redacted just by default. So that's cool. Very cool. So this is it. The zenith of multiple months of direct preparation, as well as the successor to what was arguably my most influential purchase to date. Was it worth the time and money I poured into it? I mean, I'm sure most people would call it a waste of both, and while I would struggle to justify spending as much money as I did on it, I had fun working on the edits and writing the script. Both were very interesting experiences, the likes of which I hadn't encountered, well, since the Sayori body pillow. Not only that, but because of my efforts, Zinnia might find more popularity than would have been possible otherwise, and that's something I can appreciate. So you know what? I'd say it was worth it after all.